December 1941. Only, instead of being German, this particular fragment of bomb casing had come courtesy of the Japanese. Kasten's background and life journey had been complex and surprising. He was born in Honolulu in August 1916, to well-to-do German parents who immigrated from Bremen. He had been raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, graduating with a degree in art history from the University of Wisconsin. But his free-thinking and defiant attitude led him to take the unusual step of retiring straight out of college and go off to the South Seas. He'd joined the Merchant Marine and shipped out to the Philippines in the pay of a dredging company. "The best thing I did was that I retired after college," Kasten said. "Everybody talks about what they're going to do after they retire, but when they finally do retire, they're too old to do anything, and they've lost all their dreams." At sea, when Pearl Harbor was attacked by the Japanese on December 7, 1941, his ship put into Fiji and then headed to Brisbane, Australia, arriving on Christmas Eve. America needed young men, and after listening to a rousing speech from the U.S. ambassador, Kasten volunteered to return to the States to help the war effort. He and many other young Americans boarded a returning troop transport bound for San Diego. Short-handed, the captain asked for volunteers to man the vessel's anti-aircraft guns. Kasten found himself operating the port-aft gun. It wasn't long before Kasten, still a civilian, was in the thick of the action. A lone Japanese aircraft bombed his ship while they were steaming through the Tasman Sea. One minute Kasten was hammering away at the enemy aircraft. The next he was waking up in the ship's sick bay with one hell of a headache and 16 stitches holding together a nasty gash across his forehead. After arriving at Fort Sheridan, north of Chicago, Kasten had been assigned to the Transportation Corps. But due to his high intelligence and varied life experience, his superiors attempted to have him reassigned as a teacher at an officer candidate school. Kasten refused the transfer, stating clearly that he had joined the U.S. Army to fight, not teach. Shipped over to England, Kasten found himself part of a unit that was tasked with unloading and distributing military supplies in the great port of Liverpool. Disgusted with the level of corruption and thieving that he witnessed, he volunteered for the infantry. Retrained at Tidworth Barracks, Kasten was the best marksman in his company. Now England was but a distant memory, as Kasten's company sector was subjected to an intense German mortar barrage in the Ardennes forest. The GIs tumbled into dugouts and foxholes, trying to make themselves as small as possible as the bombs detonated all across the position, blowing down trees and throwing up clumps of frozen dirt and ice high into the overcast sky. White-hot shards of shrapnel scythed down on those too slow to reach cover. Kasten, a veteran of D-Day and the terrible Battle of the Hurtgen Forest, where tens of thousands of Americans and Germans had fought themselves to a stalemate through 50 square miles of dense, soggy woodland near the German city of Aachen, knew what was coming next. All the veterans in the unit knew. When the artillery fire slackened, an infantry attack would usually follow. The veterans in the 28th had witnessed this happen so many times, their reactions were almost automatic. Kasten was his rifle squad's Browning automatic rifle, BAR, gunner. John Kopczynski, his best friend since basic training in Tidworth, volunteered to be Kasten's assistant gunner. His job was to carry the weapon's stack of magazines and help Kasten keep the gun in action. Running uphill in a crouch, Kasten, a tall, lean man with his distinctive Van Dyke mustache and beard and piercing blue eyes, lugged the heavy BAR with him, while PFC Kopczynski followed with the ammunition. Both men charged forward, almost oblivious to the occasional mortar bomb that still landed around them, before they flung themselves into a small bunker constructed out of a hole in the ground covered with tree trunks for rudimentary overhead protection. All along the line, other riflemen and machine gunners jumped into foxholes.